are here. Let's see if that looks okay. It looks all right. I think that probably looks a little bit better. Look like we're on a marooned, desert island. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Trade Skills, episode 215. Sorry for the late show. Media source 4. Let's put that audio in there. And just so you'll know what it was. So it's not just dead air. We'll go to our video, sorry. There. No better, right?
I want to live there.
You want to live there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Getting this slowly situated. Media source 4 looks good. I guess it's picking up both of them. You know what? It's whatever.
Sounds great.
Well, it's like doubling up on the audio. Shut up, Jake. There. All right, guys, we are here. Sorry for the wait. Alicia is here in the studio with Bonnie, and we are talking about, since it is today, International Marooned on an Island with No Compass. We're going to talk about beer, first and foremost, and then secondly, we're going to talk about times throughout history that people have been marooned on an island and them surviving.
Like us this weekend. We were definitely on an island.
I wish we were on an island.
We were definitely deserted.
We were deserted. Yeah, we were deserted. We were hanging out in some state parks and mountains and
Parks.
yeah. Sorry, national parks. Yeah.
And no one came for us.
No, we
We
could have
were
been
out
eaten by
there.
bears.
We almost got eaten by an elk.
An elk.
He was close. He was close.
They big boys. They're not anything like moose. You know, those guys are massive. Shredda, what's going on?
Hi.
Shredda's been waiting for you to come back on the show
Well,
because he was such a regular on Stella.
I know.
He would bring in the whole hype train on.
Did every week. Every single week.
Yeah.
And I appreciated it.
You'd have like 8 viewers, and then all of a sudden you'd have like 25 viewers, and be like, "Holy shit!" If only
Shredda must be here.
if only my little show, number one fan here.
Yes.
If only my little show had something like that. All right, so I think the one we should start with. I'm gonna slide some beer around so you guys can catch a gander at these. I tried to have them either nature-y or desert island-y. So that's kind of like where we're at. Let's see if it'll yeah. We'll zoom in on that for you guys. It's a bit bright. I'll adjust that. Oh, Bonnie's gonna be getting drunk with us?
It's water, but sure.
Water. I'm gonna adjust it so it's not plastic. Blasting us.
Oh, Shredda. If you remember Sniff and how she was on quite a few shows,
That she was.
I recently got Bonnie. I finally found it in my heart to adopt, and yeah, so Bonnie is here. She's hanging today. She went on the adventures with us this weekend too. She loves adventure. Her poor little eyes.
It's just being a white dog. They.
I know, it doesn't matter
Aw.
how much I groom her.
They're
Aw,
little
sweet baby.
tearsies. They're little tearsies. They're eye boogies. turn into brown boogies. I'd never forget Sniff.
We love Sniff.
But that is the beer. It is called Dessert Island Tasty. And it's this ice cream cone that's been deserted on an island. And it is from The Vale. It's a smoothie style sour ale, 5.5% ABV. And they are out of, let's see, smoothie style sour with coconut, mango, and cherry. The Vale is out of Richmond, Virginia. So we're going to dive into that real quick. Probably poured you a little too much.
It's okay.
Should I pour this a little lighter and then we do a little swapperoo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll work.
The smell.
Smells like.
I'm getting some coconut in there.
It smells like something.
Something.
That I remember
Oh,
from
yes.
childhood. Hold on.
Something I remember from my childhood. What is it? It's gone, just like that.
Oh, ugh. I don't know. Tastes kind of like cider.
Cider?
Yeah, like apple cider,
Hmm.
but mangoes.
I don't know how I feel about this one, to be honest. I was expecting with the coconuts and the mangoes that it would be a lot more than it is, but
I think it's just.
it is just sweet.
I think the coconut neutralizes it a little bit. The tart, I think it neutralizes the tartness.
I was getting the coconut from the rip of the smell, but flavor wise, not so
I
much.
like it.
So, Chris, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. I'm at a sweet 14%, but I wanted to talk about, okay, if I can find it. It's just like that. It's gone. Okay, here it is. For some reason it goes away. All right, so we're talking about castaways, like the movie Castaway, less Tom Hanks and Wilson. But these things did happen. And, you know, not always when people were on an island were they marooned. To my knowledge, marooning is literally like the boat has removed you from it. You've been banished from the boat to an island. You guys have seen Pirates of the Caribbean. They did that to Jack and
I think everyone gets marooned at some point in Pirates. Also in Outlander. I feel like everyone gets marooned.
who got marooned in Outlander? They went to the island to get the treasure when he got captured.
It may have been like a unwilling maroon, an accidental maroon.
Yeah.
But they were there by themselves. Claire.
So, I don't know if you want to read this one. The first one. The first one is actually kind of important. This is kind of what built our whole knowledge of
Marooning?
marooning. Yeah, this is what brought it to the mainstream.
I love how like you advertise like I was gonna be the one talking about marooning, but I literally just got here and you're like, we're talking about marooning. I'm like,
You thought you thought we were talking about camping, which we just got done doing.
Well, it is
Camping and sleeping out
camping.
in the in the wilderness and in really cold weather.
right, that was. Well, it wasn't very cold though. It was like 30.
Day one was though. It got into the 30s and
But I wasn't cold. It was cold, but I was prepared this time.
you have a radiator right next to you.
Bonnie.
Oh, yeah, Bonnie. And she was keeping you warm.
All right, so Alexander Selkirk. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So he was a Scottish mariner He had a solitary life.
Okay.
Well, he had a solitary odyssey, which is a dramatic way of saying a lone journey, in 1704. It says when he arrived at an island off the coast of Chile, along with a group of British privateers, the men had spent the previous year harassing Spanish ships around South America. But when they dropped anchor in a place,
What is it?
an archipelago, Selkirk got into a dispute with his captain over the seaworthiness of their ship, fearing the worm-eating vessel would not survive another voyage. Worm-eaten
Yeah.
vessel. Ugh, that's rough.
You got to eat them worms.
The worms were eating them. That's something to really be worried about, yeah.
That and the scurvy.
The hot-headed Selkirk elected to stay behind on the island with only a small supply of weapons, food, tobacco, and rum to keep him company. Selkirk may have believed that a passing ship would pick him up in a matter of weeks, but he would eventually spend more than 4 years and 4 months alone on the island. How'd he do that with one bottle of rum?
Yes. But why the rum?
He passed the time by notching the days and months on a tree, reading his Bible, and chasing goats. First for food, and then merely just to have something to do. Poor guy. Damn.
But why is the rum gone?
All the while, he kept his eyes peeled for signs of rescue, but the few ships he saw flew the Spanish flag. On one occasion, he was even forced to hide in a tree when Spanish mariners landed on the island to resupply. Selkirk was finally rescued in February 1709 with a band of privateers led by Captain Woodes Rogers as he stopped on the island. The wild-haired and bearded castaway initially had trouble remembering how to speak, but he went on to become a minor celebrity in the 18th century in England. He was likely the inspiration for the character in Daniel Defoe's 1719 novel.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of.
That's cool.
I like how it said that his character likely was the inspiration, but everything else I was reading about that was like, yo, that man heard
That's
about
that
his
man.
story, and then I'm going to write a book about this fucking guy. And
That's cool.
Robinson Crusoe, that's why, everybody knows that story, or at least if they don't know the story, they know something that was inspired from it. A lot of our pirates' tales, a lot of our,
Yeah.
even Castaway. All this stuff kind of works into it. So we've got another story, but we also have another beer. This one, it was okay. It was okay. The Veil usually does pretty good beer, and I like the label. I do like the label. It is a sour. It's a smoothie style sour ale. So usually with those they add lactose, to the best of my knowledge, to make like a milkshake or like with milkshake stouts and sours.
I thought it was a Berliner Weiss.
I could see it kind of working towards that for sure. You can't move too far ahead. Oh, yeah? Okay. All right. But why is the rum gone? There's a guy I follow on YouTube, and I watch a lot of his videos. He does a lot of VR, and he plays these games, but his voice acting for these games, because he can control them. You can see his hands, and he's, doing things in these. But he always sounds like Jack Sparrow. And he's like, listen to me. And he's like, tapping this
Oh, yeah, I've seen him.
person's head. And he's like, it'll all be over shortly. And then he'll just like stab him in the head. It's yeah, I'll watch like, 20 minutes of this guy just doing ridiculous shit. I do want to get a VR. Once the studio's right. I want to get a VR. We'll have plenty of room, I think. Worst case, you'll hit a wall or maybe a hanging camera or something like that. But that's about the extent of it.
It's expected.
It's expected. So I'm gonna put this beer off to the side. You know they make things that they snap onto cans. You can put it on top and then press a button a couple times and it expels the air. So if like I like that beer, but maybe I can't drink it all at one moment. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
little too much. I can push it a couple times and it reseals it, and it doesn't make it perfect. You still have opened it, and a lot of the gases have gotten out, but when you reseal it, you can drink it and it still will have some carbonation. So I'll let you choose the next.
I'm going with.
We've had this one. We know what that's about.
Oh yeah, we love that. Let's do the Polish style smoked. Is that a
Is that this?
porter? What is this?
It's its own style.
Is it?
It's a smoked beer, yeah. Which kind of tracks with campsites, when you're struggling to make a fire.
I like the label on this one.
Yeah, it literally just reminds me. It's Grodzki. Grodzki.
I have a good feeling about it.
Grodziski.
I think this is my favorite.
Wallen Palpuk Brewing Company. It is a Polish-style smoked beer. It's from Hawley, Pennsylvania.
That's why I love it.
Pennsylvania, and it's 3.2%. So it's a little bit lower on the ABV. I'm guessing this is going to be like a table beer. This is something you'll probably sip on. Not super
That's
high.
right.
See, even in the color, it's very light.
This reminds me of
It's going to have a smoky
one
smell to it, probably.
that we had.
Oh yeah, it smells like
Brew York.
ham. It's got like a smoked ham
It-
smell.
It smells like we had one at Brew York
Yeah.
like this. They had special ones for the Viking Festival that they brewed, and it smelled like meat.
Oh yeah, I like that. It's light, 3%. A little over 3%. It's very, as I always say, it's an easy drinker. Table beer, you could probably drink fucking 9 of these and be good to go.
That's like a smoky cerveza.
Yeah, I dig that. That's of the two beers,
that's
that's my
really
favorite
good.
so far. Of the two beers, this is my favorite so far. Smokiness is so nice. It's like literally I want to be at a campfire right now. Would this be too much at a campfire if you already have campfire smoke in your face?
No.
And you drink this? Like, what's the point of it being smoky? Because any beer you drink is going to be smoky when you're inhaling campfire
I
smoke.
don't feel like I've never been able to smell campfire smoke sitting at a campfire.
No?
It's not until I go inside and I smell my clothes.
And you're like, that shit smell good.
Yeah, I do like campfire smell.
So if I got a VR, would you play with me? Or would you play it?
Probably not.
No?
No.
There's a VR one. It's a VR bartending.
That would be fun.
And you literally can people come up and ask you to make a drink, and you can just look over and grab the vodka and whatever and make the
Yeah.
cocktails. But they also let you go a little outside of the box, and you can like throw a bottle at the people's heads and throw a glass of water in their face.
That would be therapeutic.
Yeah.
I needed that when I was at Greenhouse. Yeah.
Paul York, what's going on? Rob Wilbanks. Howdy, howdy. If you guys are just now popping in, welcome to the show. We're doing an episode about the history of being marooned. We are with Alicia, archaeologist. We're going to go into, I want you to, at some point, if you've got your phone on you.
I don't.
You don't, son of a bitch. I wanted to look into other cultures, like if marooning is something that, is more so recent as far as like 1700s, or do we have documented cases of, other seafarers, Vikings and people like that who, a guy's like, yeah, I don't want to fucking row no more. I think they would just kill him. If you have somebody who's rowing, maybe they're a slave because they did a lot of that. And they didn't want to row anymore. They'd probably just kill them, right?
Yeah.
Or just,
I mean, they would die on the ship.
yeah, but I wonder if there's any old cases, pre-colonial
what is the definition of marooning?
So I think that is when you are removed from from the boat. I think you'd be removed from the vessel and placed on an island. I think you'd be marooned on an island.
Can you remove yourself? Because that's what this guy just did. Selkirk. He removed himself.
That is true. Trade Scales rocks. Thank you. Thank you kindly. We're just out here talking about being marooning. Today is International International Marooned on an Island Without a Compass Day. Strange enough as it is a day. The purpose of the day actually is for people to have self-reflection and look in on themselves and kind of reassess their life and see like what works, what doesn't work, adjust, kind of think of
Maroon yourself
yes,
for the day.
think of kind of like people making like New Year's resolutions, looking over things that they want to change about themselves or their life, and yeah, like you said, kind of marooning yourself and you know, pulling yourself back and looking over everything. We're not doing that. We're drinking beer and we're talking about people actually getting marooned. I think that's
Yes, and I ate baklava cheesecake today, so I was not reflecting on.
No, we ate some tzatziki's. I had a great Greek salad with pesto chicken. It was too good. Bonnie had some tater chips.
She did.
That's why she's exhausted. Look at her little paw on the.
I know. She's so.
They
She's,
they
look at
can't
her.
they can't see her. Rob, what's going on? Man, I loved when you were on the show. We were doing kaleidoscopes. And we're looking at.
That was great.
I never thought that this is something that, I mean, obviously they've been made for a while. I mean, we talked about on the show the guy who kind of created the first kaleidoscope, but I didn't think this is something that people with just a little ingenuity can like put together some materials and make another world, you know,
Yeah.
through some kind of looking glass. I think that's, you know, awesome. I'm marooned in my room with COVID. Well, shit,
Oh
man.
man.
Hope you get better, man.
Yes,
3 years ago, people would have been, you know, fearing for your life. These days, they're like, oh, man, I got COVID. And they're like, oh, shit, homie, hope you get better. But like 3 years ago, he would have been like, dude, don't even say that shit around me.
There's still a part of me that's like that.
There's some scarring that happens with that for sure.
I mean, also when you're immune compromised, it's just a fear. you don't know how you're gonna, which way it's going.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You're like, oh, everything's fine. And then you're like, I'm really, really sick. I have no idea why.
Yeah, and
It's like this. You say it's smoky?
can't smell
Smoky
it.
can't smell that shit. Thank you, friend. That means a lot. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm also glad you came to Jake's show here at our house and played at that as well.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I liked the mixture of the Phantom of the Opera and I'm trying to think of what the other is Phantom of the Opera and something else. That two things that don't seem like they would really work together, but they worked.
I think it was some modern.
Christy,
Forget.
where in the world have you been? No.
That was great.
Lit. I like the dog dancing. Thank you for tuning in. Getting back to this beer, it is Wallen
worst
Pawpug
enemy.
Brewing Company. It's a Polish style smoked beer. It's Grodziskie. I don't know. Brazilian dog, number one. Oh yeah, I do remember that. The little boy was like, and the dog was just getting it. I'm glad that's a thing. My own worst enemy.
That was the name of the song. Pretty sure.
The mixture of songs with Phantom of the Opera.
Was it?
Some reason I was thinking it was something like Beach Boys or something that they don't seem like
more
that.
modern. I thought it was like, for some reason, Taylor Swift. I don't know. Maybe I just hear a lot of Taylor Swift lately.
That's my own worst enemy, right?
yeah.
For some reason I was thinking it was like Beach Boys mixed with Phantom of the Opera. I don't know. I was digging it though. He's like, oh, I mix everything with Phantom of the Opera.
As you
That's
should.
I basically will take, yeah. I'll take Smokey Robinson's Tears of a Clown and I'll mix it with Phantom of the Opera. Also, there was Pink Panther leading into both of those.
Oh, I remember that because we looked at each other and we were like, hell yeah.
It was good times. I enjoyed the tiki torches. Every single one of those wine glasses that Jake brought out is still sitting outside. I tore apart the makeshift stage that was out there. Hopefully, when we get our deck built, it won't be needed, and and that can just be something that happens out there sometimes. But either way, so I'm gonna go ahead and get into the next instance that somebody has been marooned, and I kind of went on a rabbit hole. I went down the rabbit hole, as they say, with this, and I was watching videos on people getting marooned. There was this guy who he was Mexican, right? He was a fisherman in Mexico, and I'm not going to be able to remember his name, but he was supposed to go out with his normal fishing buddy. He worked for a fishing company, and it was just the two guys on a very small boat, and his friend doesn't show up. His friend's sick. So the boss sends a replacement to fish with him, and these guys have never met before. This is the first time they're meeting, and they go out, which is a little awkward, it's a little weird, but a big fucking storm happens. Like 4 days of a big fucking storm. And before the storm, they had caught all of this crazy amount of fish. They'd had one of the best hauls they've had in a long time. And then the storm happened, and they're like, shit, we're going to sink. This is a very, very small boat. I don't even think there was a cabin underneath. It's that small. Massive waves, just beating the shit out of this ship. And they're like, hey, we're going to sink. We got to get rid of this fish. It's loading us down. We got to get rid of it. And they regretted that decision later because obviously they're stuck. But this man, I don't know if you really call it marooned. He did end up on an island, but these two guys survived. They snuck into the cooler that was it's a fish cooler, and it was bolted down to the boat. It's a part of the boat. They just throw the fish in there. So when they finally came out of that a couple of days later after the storm ended, not a bit of land in sight. No idea where they were. They sent out an SOS before the storm got really bad, but there was no way for them to triangulate where they were at. All of their equipment was fucked.
That's my worst fear.
So it's just these two guys stuck out there. And through time, after a couple months, they became besties. They became homies. Tom Hanks. Oh, yeah. Tom Hanks in Castaway.
He did get marooned.
Honestly, I've never seen that movie.
What?
Never seen it. I don't know. I went through a period with Tom Hanks where I kind of got burnt out,
No.
Like, there's You've Got Mail, and then there was Sleepless in Seattle, and then there was I like Joe versus the Volcano, though. That one was pretty good. But there was a large stint of just where they're just shoving Tom Hanks down your throat. I liked Big. I liked some of his earlier days. Anyways, I didn't watch it. But anyways, these two guys are out in the boats for a long time. And what they're doing is one of the guys figured out he can just put his hands in the water, and eventually something will think that is food. Something. So he'll put his little fingertips in the water, and then when a fish came up, he would just grab it and toss it into the boat. And these guys were like Gollum, and they were just just tearing up these raw fish. Some days were good, and they were able to dry the fish out,
Yeah.
bacala. The bacala in Portugal. Yeah, like that. They were able to kind of minus the salt. I guess they were already salted, but they were able to dry them out. But then the days they couldn't, they ate seagulls. So if a seagull came and flew up on the boat, they would beat the shit out of it. And they would gang jump it and beat the shit out of these seagulls and just eat them. They would drink seagull and turtle blood, whenever, because they set up these buckets for rainwater, but there was long stints where there was no rain.
Yeah.
So they were drinking this blood, and when this guy was eventually found, and all these survivalists were like, dude, there's no fucking way you were out here for this long without water, without food, without, whatever. It's impossible. You're bullshitting us. And they ran him through all these tests to see, if he was lying. And he was like, no, we literally ate seagulls, turtles, fish, we collected rainwater. The younger guy dies, but how he dies is that he starts eating a seagull that has a poisonous sea snake in its stomach, and he gets poisoned, and he survives that, but he's never really the same. He's so put off and disgusted by food, like something just in his body just like is repulsed by the food, that he dies of starvation, and they make a pact that neither one of them will eat the other. So he doesn't get rid of the body yet. He hangs out with this body for like weeks and talks to him, and like that's his buddy. And then after a while, he's like, I'm going fucking crazy. So he gives him a proper sea burial and pushes him in the water. And apparently he didn't get scurvy. When you're out in the waters, you don't have a lot of vegetables or fruit, so you contract scurvy, and you people can die. It's nasty shit. So apparently, because of the seagulls and the birds that they were eating and drinking their blood, and the turtles as well, they were getting the vitamin C and stuff they needed. Small amounts, but they said they had to eat a shit ton of seagulls. So eventually this guy's getting to enjoy the solitude. He's just enjoying every day of just being alive, and he's riding around on this boat, just letting it coast wherever. Like, he obviously has no choice. There's no sails on it. It's controlled by a boat, but the storm destroyed it. He washes up kind of in it's like islands off of Australia. Mm-hmm. Like, there's like just ridiculous amounts of islands smattered throughout that area. He winds up on one of those. It's really small, but the next one is like really close. Like, he could easily swim to the next one. So he shows up at the first one, and it's uninhabited. He swims to the next one, shows up, when he lands on the islands, and there just happened to be people there, and he was saved, and it became a huge thing. So that was super cool. That was not my maroon story. That was just one of them that I remembered. So
there's a storm, right?
Yes.
So you're on a boat with a fish cooler.
Mm-hmm.
You're in like a bad 4-day storm.
Yeah.
So you lock yourself in the fish cooler that's
attached to the boat.
To the boat. So were they like not scared it was going down?
I don't think they obviously you can't lock it.
Well, if you're inside,
it's just like a collapsible. You just push it up. It's like a.
Well, if you go down, it's airtight. You're stuck.
I mean, when you go down, you're going down regardless.
Yeah,
but
suffocate.
And yes.
Rather than drown, that's terrifying.
But if you're constantly in the water like that, you'll probably get hypothermia and die as well. So if you can get out of the water, that'd probably be.
You're not gonna catch me locked in a box in the bottom of the ocean.
They would never find it. The box would crust over with crustaceans, and they would never find you. Nobody would be the wiser. Okay, this is the story of Marguerite de la Roche.
You're the French guy.
I'm not. I mean,
you are.
Little is known about the life of her. A 16th century French noblewoman who spent 2 years marooned on an island off the coast of Quebec. According to most accounts, her ordeal began in 1542 when she accompanied a relative on an expedition to establish a colony in Canada. During the long crossing of the Atlantic, the young and unmarried, I'm going to call her Marguerite because my pronunciation of French names is horrible, sparked a scandal when she took a fellow passenger as her lover. The tryst outraged the ship's devout captain, de la Roche. Her lover and her servant were subsequently banished to the remote island of Demons, it's ominous, near the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The trio built a small hut to protect against the blistering cold and used muskets and rocks to scare off bears and wolves. They soon faced more serious problems when De La Roque discovered she was pregnant. Amazingly, the young castaway managed to survive the birth of the baby, But after 16 months on the island, both her lover and her servant had perished. Her young child would follow soon after. Yet De La Roque continued to survive alone until 1544, when she was rescued by a group of fishermen and they ferried her back to Europe. So 1542 to 1544. 2 years, though. I mean, that's a good run.
She knew what she was doing. She had a setup of some sort after a while.
Bernal Lopez. She was finding some way to get water and food, and I'm sure she had some form of accommodations.
It was the demons.
The demons helped her out.
I think so.
It's quite possible. All right, we both have had this beer, but this is the one I want to drink next. This is Native Brews. It is a Native American-owned brewery in Cherokee, North Carolina. This is called Sunrise Hard Vanilla Spiced Ale. I was hoping it had some information. It is 5% canned and brewed by Riley's Brewing, and it says Sanger, California. Curious. So this on here says Native Brews, Sunrise Hard Vanilla Spiced Ale, but this says it was canned and brewed by Riley's Brewing in California. Curious. Curious, indeed. Did they get another brewery to make their beer for them, or? It says canned. Maybe it wasn't actually brewed. Maybe it was just canned by them. Maybe they send kegs of it and they can it up for them. But California is a long way to go from North Carolina to have your beer canned. A lot of other places.
You have to think about the socioeconomic situation there. And,
you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool town. We went there just recently, and it was very interesting. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, we've been to the Tennessee side of the Smokies, Georgia, part of the Blue Ridge, mountains.
Yeah.
But we decided to go to North Carolina.
Yeah, we hit that other part.
Yeah.
It took us year 3 to do it.
Smokemont.
Yeah, we would have done it year 2. It was a year 2 that
It was year 2.
that we drove up into that private treehouse community or treehouse rental place.
Yeah, we thought that the campground was in Tennessee. It was, so the reason that we went to North Carolina all the way over is because there's a trail that we wanted to go on, little spooky trail. And
Spearfinger.
yeah, legendary Spearfinger Trail. Haunted
She'd
trails.
be out there with her long nails just getting livers, and people would not be any wiser to it, and they'd go home with their liver missing and die.
I respect her.
She don't want no part of my liver, though. That shit pickled. Especially tonight.
Tonight,
Yeah, we pickling these livers.
your little 2 sips of beer is going to get you.
It's going to fuck me up.
But anyways, yeah, so we decided to go over to Cherokee for the day, and we went to the reservation to go to the Cherokee People's Museum, and that was really cool.
Yeah, that was.
I like the way that I like what they've done there. I think I'm gonna do something with that. I think
Yeah.
a lot of museums need to do, especially if Cherokee people are doing that. Don't you think people who are not Cherokee should be doing that with native artifacts?
So we're talking appropriation.
Basically,
Reappropriation.
Repatriation.
Repatriation.
Yeah. So this museum had native artifacts on display, but they were replications of the real artifacts because basically this museum decided to do something called a disruption display where you're not actually displaying artifacts that are significant to native religious
Yeah, to like their
beliefs
culture.
and a lot of museums were doing like displaying human remains.
Oh yeah, we've been to a bunch.
Yeah.
You know, we go to the Museum of London. You know, you'll see you'll see dead bodies all over the place.
Yeah, and so I mean, essentially, this specific museum we went to, just because
Thanks, Rob. Headed off, y'all. Have a great podcast. Make sure you stay hydrated with some seagull fluids. Yeah, definitely. Get better, man. Get better.
Yeah.
Be well. I'm not sure what the quite phrase is for that, but
Yeah.
get well soon. There you go.
I love this. But anyways, we went just for me to go to the museum.
We didn't think it was going to be that. We thought it was
Well-
just going to be a museum.
Right, but it was a pleasant surprise. I think if they're doing that with their artifacts, then I think everyone needs to kind of follow suit, because that's obviously the way they want to be. They want their
Yeah. It's basically
material
like, hey,
displayed.
this is like my ancestor stuff. This was super important to ceremonies, you know, to the family. Like, this is deeply rooted in my family. This isn't like something from like, you know, 3,000 years ago, and it's like, I don't know. It's like,
I mean,
this
even
is
if it is, they're still here.
yeah. They're
and
like, we're still here, and that's our family stuff. And
now I know a lot of the mound museums have done the same. Etowah, Kolomoki, Okamogi, they do the same. But anyway, we go to Cherokee for this museum, and I just wanted to, as somebody who is in historic preservation, you know, interested in museum display methods, I thought it would be interesting to kind of see how they prefer for it to be done,
right.
to hopefully kind of carry that on into my future endeavors. But yeah, we just kind of rode around. There's all kinds of really interesting stuff. And this brewery was there, which we originally thought was a tap house. But they have their own stuff.
Yeah, they're doing
was
their own
great.
thing.
And this one specifically, you know what's
It was a bit of a
weird?
surprise.
You know what's weird? This one is like it's like, it tastes like cream soda.
It does.
It is essentially alcoholic cream soda.
Let's get back into it. Let's try it for the second time a couple days later. Yep.
It's great.
Yep.
But do you know how many mentions of cream soda we heard over the weekend? Did you notice that?
No.
So we went to a restaurant, and there was a family that was sitting next to us who was making this big deal about how they didn't have cream soda. Okay, so I noticed that, and then we listened to National Parks After Dark podcast.
She was talking about how much she loves cream soda, like once a
Yeah.
year.
And then we go to this place. I have not even thought of cream soda in years, and then I like hear it multiple
Well, now
times.
you have a 6-pack of this.
And then we get cream soda beer, and it was just great. That was
We
the
should make
best.
cream soda beer floats with them once
Yeah.
we're able to.
Once we're able to. But anyways, they had some good stuff. Didn't they have Oktoberfest kind of style?
They had a
that-
couple darker beers. They had a porter. They
What
had an
was the
oatmeal
first one you
stout.
got?
I had a actually I didn't get the oatmeal stout. I got the
No,
porter.
That was good.
The porter was good. I wanted the oatmeal stout, but it was, I think, like 7.5. They had to serve it in it wasn't even a 10-ounce glass. I think it was like an 8 or 6-ounce glass. And I was like, ooh, shit. You ain't teasing me with his little ass beer. I was like, I'll take this blonde. And the blonde was great. It was definitely patio beer, like patio pounder, as they say. And I was like, hey, do you guys, I saw you had bottled beers in some of your images, like some of your displays. But all I'm seeing is canned. Do you guys have another thing of beer? She's like, no, what we have out there right now is all we have. And I was like, hey, what's up with this cream ale? This Sunrise Hard Vanilla Spiced Ale. I was like, what's up with that? And she's like, oh, it's way too sweet. It's like, it tastes like cream soda. And I was like, oh. She's like, if you want to try a sample of it with your blonde, and I usually don't do samples of beer. That's just me being... prudish or something. I don't know.
bartender, previous bartender.
Yeah, so I get annoyed when people are like, "Can I get a sample of this?" And I want a sample of this, and they're just making their own flight, and they're just going to get one beer, but it's going to put me through the work of making 6 beers, basically. Not quite, but I'm getting 6 individual glasses or so to make you something, and pouring you a $6 beer. So I usually don't do samples. I know my beer well enough to know that I'll probably end up liking it. If I like that style, unless they just really drop the ball on it, I'll probably like it. And yeah, she brought this one, and we both tried it, and we were like,
Great,
hey, yeah. So we bought 2 6-packs.
We did. I'm gonna have to hold off for a bit on that, but
It's okay. So I think we're gonna drink this one probably next. Did you know? So Trim Tab is Birmingham, Alabama. Did you see this on there?
I did. That's really interesting.
I think that is cool. It's in a collaboration with the Pearl Diver from Nashville. Maybe there's a Pearl Diver in Alabama. Maybe there's one in Birmingham. Let's see. Pearl Diver.
But yeah, I wish they distributed elsewhere, because they seem like they've got a lot of good stuff, and I would appreciate that cream ale
Yeah.
in next summer.
So
But we'd have to research because I've never seen it.
yeah, not to be like I'm not an SJ, like, what is it called? Like a social justice warrior or something. But I was feeling some kind of way, and even though those aren't my people, I mean, that's what, like, Cherokee is like a reservation, right? Like the
we
people
were on the reservation.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm made to feel cringe when there are things that are like overly characters of Native Americans. So there was a big sign, a big statue at the Native Brews that, had his hand out like, and he had the headdress on, and he was very stereotypical. So it's a weird thing because
You're participating in buying from this place that you feel like is kind of just
but the people
perpetuating. And yes, they it is their business, but you have to remember the socioeconomic situation.
they're
of
also catering.
reservations.
They're
They are
catering to who?
catering because they're not funded outside.
Right. It's not like there's going to be a Cree, or not a Cree, but like, there's not going to be a Blackfoot person coming in and getting offended. I mean, they could, but it's like,
No, I'm
this
saying
is meant for tourists to come in, and they're
They-
building an experience, almost like a Disneyland, and
yeah,
they're
I mean,
profiting
it
from
sucks, the situation that they're in, that this country has put them in, because they have to live. I mean, they're living around, and I mean, other people come in from outside, and they own businesses that essentially appropriate and treat it like a Disney World on the reservations, and it's America.
America. Fuck yeah.
That's a whole other episode, but
Let's see if I can get some just really low stuff playing in the background.
I did like that, they're the signs.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you. I mean, I grew up in the South, and I have never nobody has ever said anything about the Cherokee alphabet.
No, that was actually really nice to see the alphabet. Actually, it's not just used on random things. It's like
All of their signs.
all of their street signs, it might say like Berryview Lane or something, and then it'll say it first in the Creek language, and then it'll say it in, in the English.
Cherokee.
What did I say?
Cree.
Sorry. It'll
But
say it in
yeah.
like Cherokee language, and then it'll throw it in the
Yeah, it was.
English. All the signs. You might see like a pediatrics place, and it would have it in Creek or Cherokee first, and then it would throw it in.
But anyways, I mean, I knew that this month was, Indigenous Peoples Month, November, and so I figured, if we're gonna be out there, I kind of wanted to go and see how they like to be represented, and if they're representing themselves like that in their own museum, then that's what everyone else needs to be doing. But
Yeah. The
But yeah.
museum was nice. It was a very cool stance that they were taking. I'm
that's
gonna
how
see
they
if I
wanna
can
be
find something really
respected.
quiet to play mixed with it. No. Nope. Super. That one?
No, I like the first one.
That?
Down. All the way over. Orange. Just chill. Maybe not. Find something else.
I want something to go along with the rain. Small loss.
That was almost us at the national park with Bonnie running off.
That's true.
You're so small, but it would have been a big loss. She's so adventurous, she doesn't know what's good for her. Thankfully, she
Matt, what's going on, man?
needs attention at all times, so she was just running up to another person, not away.
Yeah. Matt's popping in. He popped in on Facebook and on Twitch, so thank you for that. We're talking about International Marooned on an Island Without a Compass Day, which
How
today
many-
is
So this is an
November-
international thing.
apparently. But if you go to the website, like today, what is today or whatever, it's going to pull up like 20 of them.
I wonder how many people are aware of this.
Today, holiday. What is today? This is on nationaltoday.com. Today is Job Action Day, National Nacho Day, All Saints Day in Colombia. It's Color the World Orange Day,
I love that.
Constitution Day in the Dominican Republic, Dog Film Festival, International Day for Preventing the Exploitation of the Environments in War and Armed Conflict, Marooned Without a Compass Day, National Ladies Learning Code Day, National Michelle Day, Report Home Health Care Fraud Day. Cool. Today is National Saxophone Day and National Team Manager Day. There's just some ridiculous ones. Play Basketball Day. Recreation Day is celebrated in North Tasmania, Australia, on the first Monday of November.
Did you know that I used to play the saxophone? Did I ever tell you that?
You did. And then we talked about me watching The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, and he had this little, like, tiny little soprano sax that he was doing all his jazz with. What's up, Betsy? Jake is not here today. He's
Sick.
yeah, he's not feeling too good. He's actually probably on the couch sleeping as we speak. And we're talking about Marooned on an Island Without a Compass Day, which is today. And we're talking about throughout history with an archaeologist about
How to be marooned.
or throughout history, people who have been marooned. Some of them inspired Robinson Crusoe, Defoe's book, Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah, I now, were you asking earlier, are there like historic accounts of this?
Yeah. I'm just curious if
I mean, yeah.
If there are like pre 1617 seafaring, you know, like
Oh, I'm sure. I mean,
like
you get
you
tired
know
of Uncle Joe and you just
700 AD.
you know, he was the reason that, you know, you guys went in to raid a village and, you know, he gave you away, so you got to leave him, you know. I'm sure. I mean, in Neolithic times, it was probably super common to be leaving folk. I wouldn't say that. Pre-Neolithic. I know that for function purposes, Cro-Magnon people would have left, you know, would leave people for reasons like they're sick, go put them on an island, leave them, you know, kind of survival.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole island of Australia.
But then, no, I mean, there comes a certain point where, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are many accounts of people just like dumping folks or
Yeah.
forgetting them.
It says pirates culture marooning. The word first appeared in writing approximately 1709, derived from the term maroon, a word fugitive slave. This is on goldenagepiracy.com. It's official, right? The term maroon, a word for a fugitive slave, which could be a corruption of Spanish quimeron, meaning a household animal or slave who has run wild. Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about people throughout history who have been marooned, and I was curious and I went off on a tangent about, I wonder what the first recorded marooning was. You know, I talked about, you know, the Vikings, if they had, you know, somebody who was supposed to be on the oars and supposed to be rowing, and they're like, you know what, man, fuck this guy is an asshole who's telling me to you know, to row, and I'm going to dethrone him. And then they're like, you know what, fuck this guy, let's throw him off on an island.
I'm sure.
Curious.
I don't know. My specialty is not
marooning.
seafaring.
It's a maroonologist, and it's not your forte.
I mean, I can tell you that it happened, but that's about it. I can't give you names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to be marooned, do you need to have been placed on an island, or?
I think just left somewhere. Also, I'm curious if the first
There's a Taylor Swift
case.
song called Maroon.
The first case that we read, I wonder if that was a true marooning because he marooned himself. I think that's just, I don't want to get on a worm-eaten boat. My chances of survival are better by myself on this deserted island. That's a little extreme. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not the mariner, and I don't know the state of that worm-eaten boat, I guess. I guess we'll have to trust him. I'd like to know if it went down, though. That was a bit of a cliffhanger, and I don't appreciate that.
Which one?
When he marooned himself on the island because he said this boat is full of worms, and it's been eaten. There's holes in it. I'd like to know what happened to the ship.
Oh yeah, no, they didn't. I don't know if they ever said that. But marooning, the definition is to leave someone trapped or isolated in an inaccessible place, especially in an island.
Yeah.
A novel about schoolboys marooned on an island. We all know that one.
I think I've been marooned. Not on an island.
Isolated in a inaccessible place.
Yeah.
I marooned you.
Did you?
I don't know. You kept looking at me. You were like,
No, my friends in high school. I'm pretty sure they marooned me a few times.
I think a lot of people maroon themselves. No man is an island. You know. French word, quimaron. French maroon. It's like a mixture of words. A member of any various communities in parts of the Caribbean who were originally descendant from escaped slaves. In the 18th century, Jamaican Maroons fought 2 wars against the British settlers, both which ended in treaties affirming the independence of the Maroons. Okay. That's Maroons as a people. Yes, we're getting back.
But Tom Hanks, he did it. I think he did it best.
I still haven't seen it.
It's wild to me though how a man. I would like a sequel because I feel like he was not a FedEx man. How did he know?
See, spoilers. I've never seen it.
Well, you're way late to that game.
There's a lot of movies that have slipped through the cracks.
That
Whether
is
it's
surprising.
through, I was going through some kind of phase where I watched a lot of something, and so it's that way with music with me, because at some point in my life I was all about in my youth, teens and earlier, I was all about Metallica. So anything else that came out, Korn, Primus, a lot of that stuff I didn't listen to because I was just all about, I love Metallica, I'm just going to listen to Metallica. And I got that way about like old music. So, I listened to nothing but like Ella Fitzgerald and like Otis Redding and Sam Cooke. And I kind of went on this tangent where there's like
Right.
generations or there's like times of music that I totally skipped on.
You skipped on Tom Hanks.
Yes, because I'm sure at that time when that movie came out, there was some other stuff that was coming out that I was much more focused on.
So it's a cultural phenomenon, and you just decided never.
Yeah, that sounds like something you would do.
Me, not you.
You would be like, oh, that's popular. I'm definitely
I
not watching that shit.
literally don't even care about anything that's modern. Don't even get me started on technology. I
Oh,
don't
she
even
hates
know
it.
where my phone's at. I mean, I get on Facebook, but
All right, the next one is yours. Tell me a little bit about that one.
fruited sour. So Pearl Diver, what is the collaboration? I don't understand what the benefit is to them, I guess.
I don't know. It might show it on a label. You might have to read a little further. This
Well,
is
there's
Trim
nothing
Tab
to
with
read.
Birmingham. There's all this.
Oh, I didn't see that. There's a lot going on.
It says there's so many movies, books, music will never catch up. I also have not seen Castaway. Yeah, there's
Y'all
so
gotta
many.
See it. Tom Hanks. That man.
I liked him on Joe and the Volcano. Him and I think it was Meg Ryan, and they're both. I think they tried to kill themselves by tossing themselves in the volcano. I think that maybe something. It's been a while. It's been since the '90s, maybe early 2000s since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they toss themselves in the volcano, and right as they jump in, the volcano erupts, and the gases or whatever launch them to safety.
I just want to know how the FedEx man knew that he would go crazy if he didn't have a friend, and maybe he was actively going crazy. I'll have to rewatch it.
We could watch it together.
That was a good movie.
I remember. I mean, there's just a lot of movies that are classics that people miss out on. So,
I mean, yeah, I didn't watch Phantom of the Opera until I was like
I love that movie.
19.
But you hadn't seen like Legends of the Fall, and you watched that with me. We sat down and watched that long ass movie.
What was that again?
Oh God, Legends of the Fall. So it's got Brad Pitt in it. It's got Anthony Hopkins in it. It's they live out on the farm, and there's some Native Americans that live with them, and
That was a good one.
eventually he goes off on a ship, and they go off to war. They're trying to stay away from it,
Oh,
but the one
yeah.
brother wants to.
Oh yeah, I couldn't stand. It was like the main girl.
Oh yeah, 'cause
I
she was so
remember that.
fickle. She was so
I just remember this movie because I was just like, "What are you doing? friend.
Tom
but-
Hanks was great in Mr. Rogers. Didn't see that one either.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that.
Ooh. This smells kind of like, I don't know if it's still a remnant of this
It,
other beer.
It does.
This cream soda. Let's try
It's
it.
not.
Have you tried it yet?
Yeah.
Oh. The cheers go out the window, guys.
What? Yeah. It's good. I like it.
Confusing. The carbonation is so high in it. So did you read the back of this?
Yeah, it's like a wine.
Oh, that makes sense. It's bold and juicy. White wine and passion fruit flavors burst on the tongue. It did do that. Made even punchier with hops added flavor, mango, citrus, just enough bitterness to balance the sweetness. They literally made a wine. This is a wine beer.
Yeah.
What is our ABV? So, Trim Tab Brewing. This is in Birmingham, Alabama, with Pearl Diver, which is a Nashville establishment. It's called Smooth Sailing. I'll give you a shot of
I
the.
like this one a lot. I think this is my second favorite of the night.
It makes me think about the Isley Brothers song.
Nothing but smooth sailing from here. Everything that you want from me is mine.
Anyways, yeah, I like the logo. It's got this like guy on an island. There's boats around. He's a skeleton.
Looks like he's been marooned for a while.
He has, and they're just right when he died, but then there's boats in the background, so he could have been saved. I was trying to get an ABV, so it says scan the code to enjoy with surround sound. Let's test this, guys. We've never done this on the show. I'm scanning here. God, it's not working. Just do it. Yeah. I don't have Spotify. I'm old, I know. So this is what it pulls up. Pearl Diver Trim Tab playlist. I actually won't be able to play much of it because a lot of
Yeah.
it's copyright protected. But that's cool that they have their own like Trim Tab Pearl Diver soundtrack that if you just want some kind of vibe, this will be
Take
it.
that out on a river. Ooh, let's go tubing. Let's go to Townsend and go tubing.
And go tubing.
And take these. Just turn on this like track.
Whoa, does that say 8%?
Yep.
This is wine beer.
Yeah. That's what it says. I think that would be a great time this
Who is
summer.
Amber Mark?
Who? Amber Mark? An artist.
Alan Parsons Project. Roselia. Fat Boy Slim. Okay. Oh. They ain't ready for that Luther Vandross. Remy Wolf. So that was a cool experience. Thank you, Trim Tab and Pearl Diver, for giving that to us because we'd never actually done that before. We're gonna get copyright hit, but you know it is what it is. So it says it is a fruited sour. I would say that is a stretch.
False.
I would call this champagne beer, or I don't know,
Champagne beer.
champagne beer.
Champagne.
It is, it is a beer by definition. But I mean, I'm just smelling cream soda. But I don't get a lot of sour in it. It literally tastes like I'm drinking some wine, some really bubbly wine. It's nice.
I enjoy it.
It's nice. If you're a white wine fan, you will be a fan of this.
I wasn't until this year for whatever reason. So I need to get some of that and hoard it for next summer
Yeah.
because I'm excited.
That good shit. So, congrats to Pearl Diver and Trim Tab. That was a stellar beer. Do you want to read the next one? People getting marooned.
People getting marooned.
For now, Lopez. Not for later, Lopez. It's for now, Lopez.
Okay.
Are you reading
Just
ahead?
saying, I just, word caught me. Okay. St. Helena is perhaps best known as the place where Napoleon Bonaparte was banished after his famous defeat in 1815 Battle of Waterloo. But some 300 years before the French emperor arrived, this remote island in the southern Atlantic was home to one of history's most unusual castaways, Fernão Lopez, Portuguese soldier, who turned against his homeland and sided with Muslim natives during a conflict in India where his former brother in arms captured him. They punished him by lopping off his right hand, pushing
Y'all
his
doing that man
ears
dirty.
and nose, deformed and disgraced.
You said pushing?
No, they punished him.
Oh, they
Sorry.
lopped off his hands, his ears, and his nose.
Yeah.
There's his right hand.
That's why I saw deformed and disgraced earlier, and I was like, I'm sorry. I thought we were.
They cut off this man's right hand. They lopped off his ears and lopped off
I
his
was
nose.
confused because it said they lopped off his right hand. What's that?
It just blinked.
Stressful. His right hand, ears, and nose. For whatever reason, I read that like his right nose and his right ear.
They just caught that one nostril
But
and
they
just chopped it off.
definitely took his entire nose. He was stowed away aboard a ship bound for Portugal in 1516 when it stopped at the uninhabited Isle of St. Helena. Is that how you say that? I hate how that comes
Yeah,
out.
St. Helena.
I don't know, it didn't sound right. He slipped away and hid in the forest. See, why are you giving me the ones where they maroon themselves?
My man
This
said,
is escaping.
my man said, fuck you, I'll do it my own way. I ain't got no hand. I only got one hand.
Somebody knows something. Somebody knows P. Sherman 42 well. They're escaping. That's all the ones you're giving me is escape stories here.
Oh, my bad.
He would live on the island in self-imposed exile. This is an exile. This is not a maroon. For the next several years, totally alone. Save a rooster, he turned into a pet. That's pretty
My
cool.
man.
And the fact that there was only one, like, you know, there were more roosters on that island, but he's like, oh, fuck y'all. I want
Well,
this
he
one."
ate the chickens and left the rooster.
Well, you need to keep a few hens for eggs, you would think, but you know, whatever. It's
And for
his
chicken,
deal.
for chicken milk too.
Yeah. And schnitzel, apparently.
That shit was good.
Yeah. Though he refused to come out of hiding to meet visitors, he eventually became something of a legend among Portuguese mariners who would leave offerings of food and clothing for the hermit of St. Helena, whenever they dropped anchor on his island. Man,
That sounds like a vibe right there.
he's
The Hermit of St.
kinda living
Helena.
my life that I want. As his celebrity grew, he was persuaded to travel to Europe, where he received a pardon from the King of Portugal, an absolution from the Pope. The disfigured castaway was offered a place in the monastery, but chose to return to St. Helena, where he continued to live alone until his death around 1545. By that time, he spent some 30 years on the island, nearly all of it in complete solitude, except that rooster. How many roosters do you think he had? Or maybe that rooster lived 30. Maybe the Fountain of Youth is on St. Helena, and him and his rooster friend. Honestly, that sounds like a great life.
He did it the right way.
Man.
He you know, they were like having the war, Portuguese versus the Muslims, and
I
he was,
personally,
you know,
though-
he chose the Muslims, and they cut off his hand and his ears and his nose, He stowed away, snuck off to the forest, and just did the damn thing.
And now he's a celebrity. He's
People
a
would drop
celebrity
offerings to him.
hermit.
The Hermit of St. Helena.
The celebrity hermit.
I mean, that's a vibe.
I mean, my dream life was to be a hermit in a garden.
A hermitage.
A hermit, yes. But
You wouldn't have to actually do anything. You maintain the vegetation,
right.
and that's it.
Which
You
I
just
love. And then you just read books and you're mysterious.
That's
and
what
people
they
are
want
like,
from you.
Where is she? And
We need
I'm
to bring
like,
that
"Over
back."
Here. Well, build you a garden in your house.
bring back a hermitage.
And I will build a tiny house back there.
Now, mind you, you can't have a car, and these hermits don't
I
have
don't
cars.
need that. But also, this has to be a place people come visit.
They don't really leave the hermitage.
I'm fine.
Plants are
with that.
fickle, you know.
I genuinely.
You leave for a day to get
don't want
to get a donut and a coffee. You come back and kudzu's overtaken
I
it.
would
You know.
never leave the kudzu. I would never leave them.
So I tried to get a mixture of, because we did our camping trip, and this is International Marooned Without a Compass Day. I try to have a mixture of the both. So this one is from our camping trip. Native Brews, shout out, they're great. This is a guy marooned, seemingly, on an island. This one literally is called Desert Island Tasty, and it's a guy like marooned on an ice cream thing, marooned on an island. Yeah. And then, the other one is we went camping. It's a camping smoked Polish style beer.
Just a smoky cerveza, and
It's a good boy.
my favorite so far.
I need to buy some of those canning things that save the cans.
Yeah, because now you're
I'm shit out of
shit
luck.
out of luck. Yeah. Man.
Thanks, Bonqui.
How many of these people do you think, seriously though, were actually marooned without a compass?
All of them.
Well, okay, the ones
But
that
what
were
will a
actually
compass do?
marooned, it could do a lot.
If you're,
If you know what side of the island you're on, you know what side of the island ships are more likely to come to, kind of port in at. So I would think it would still be important to know where you are. even if you're deserted.
I don't think it would. I think if you know your landscape and you're like, okay, going in this direction will lead me straight to a beach towards these two trees that do this thing. I go through these trees, go straight, that's a beach,
Yeah, but
and I come
takes
back
some time
this way.
to learn that. You're gonna be out there. You're burning calories and energy that you need to survive trying to learn the island when you can just have a compass. But anyways, I think that the people who marooned themselves definitely had a compass. So I don't think they qualify to be spoken about.
Most of these guys are escaping something.
They still
So the
marooned
first guy,
themselves.
the inspiration for Robinson Crusoe, he probably maybe had a compass. He maybe had some gear. The guy who got his ears and nose and hand lopped off, my man didn't have a compass. He's just getting the fuck away. He has some trousers on. That's it. The girl, she did not have a compass.
She did not.
She was just trying to
was
make her way to
just sad.
Canada.
She was just trying to get away from the bears and the
How big
wolves.
is the island?
It didn't say. None of these tell us how big the islands are. We could probably look up.
I mean, it
and see
doesn't
how
really
big-
matter too
It
much.
does.
So they're uninhabited islands. So Evan, you're just now popping in. This is international. So today's episode is about being marooned on an island without a compass. Today is International Marooned Without a Compass Day. Apparently, it's a day. Today is the day for it. November 6th. We just came back from a camping trip, so all of our beer it's half camping trip beer and half
It's all
marooned
kinda
on an
the
island
same.
beer.
You're just marooning is like super camping, right?
And camping is
just like,
voluntarily marooning.
well, yeah, it's like diluted.
Yeah,
Maroon, being
unless you're at a
yeah.
KOA.
I don't know. Oof, that's almost worse than being marooned.
It's a KOA is,
An experience.
it is, but honestly, I would rather be outside in a KOA than in a comfortable hotel room. Like, after a while they all start to blend. Like what's memorable about going to a hotel room?
Nothing, but I just don't want to be around people like that.
Right. But true. But you didn't see it earlier. I kind of slightly mentioned it. I did a post earlier. I think I did a story or something like that. I think I did it on. Yes. So what it was is I did a post on Trade Skills Instagram. If you guys don't follow, you should. Just go to Trade Skills on Instagram and you should see it. It's got our little symbol, this thing up here.
Yep.
So I did a post and it's linked to my personal Facebook. So it posted and I said, what's better? I said camping and beer. Name something that's better. Just joking around. And my aunt's like, beer in a comfortable hotel room. And I was like, I was joking on my aunt. I was like, wow, I thought you liked adventure. Because she just recently started doing a lot of traveling within the last 3 or 4 years. So I figured she'd be about it, but she is not. She apparently does not like camping. But camping can be, is an all-encapsulated kind of term. I think even if you're in a cabin, you're not camping in a cabin. Camping in a cabin in the woods.
It depends if there is electricity. Also,
but why need a compass? You have the sun and the moon. Ooh.
Well, that's why they are without compasses, and they probably learned that trick very quickly.
So
without one.
We kind of perverted the name of the or the reason for the holiday. The holiday is supposed to be for self-inflection or self-viewing, like things you need to change about your life. You need to reflect on yourself and see what works and what doesn't work and kind of seclude yourself on an island and just gather yourself. I took that and just ran with it. And I was like, hey, babe, this is what we're doing.
We're going to have a pirate ship in the background.
She found that out like 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the episode.
Yeah.
She's like, oh boy. And I was like, well, we're both history buffs. It's not what I said, but what I was thinking. I was like, we both love history. And then the idea of like looking at like historical moments of people being marooned on an island. It just sounds great.
Sounds like my kind of life.
Yeah, especially the last guy, the Hermit of Saint Helena.
Yeah, he had it good.
Yeah, he literally, he got his ears.
Okay, I won't say good.
So he during some war between the Portuguese.
Disfigured. He had his left nose chopped off, right nose chopped off.
So during the Portuguese, there was some kind of war going on, and he sided with the other people other than his own people, and he ended up getting captured by his own people, and they cut off his right hand, they cut off his nose, and they lopped off his ears.
They did.
And they were holding on to him. They had him stowed away, and they ended up getting on this island to gather themselves or whatever it was. My man just ran off into the woods, and they're like, oh shit, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he lived on this island for 30 years. Like, he just did the damn thing. He lived by himself. He had a pet rooster that he hung out with.
For
and
30.
Yes, and people, he kind of became a legend. People would drop offerings and food and clothes off at the island. He was known as like the Hermit of St. Helena. He ended up getting pardoned by the Pope and the ruler of Portugal, and he still just went back to the island and finished out his final years there, camping and some herbs.
Hey,
Some
this
yerba.
weekend they were camping in some herbs, that's for sure.
Yeah,
So,
we were mostly burning leaves. I was, at least.
yeah.
That's the kind of herbs I was burning.
Apparently that's a substitute for wood.
So
That would suck.
the wood we got in Cherokee sucked.
It wouldn't burn.
It wouldn't burn.
It was
I used all my Boy Scout knowledge of different ways to stack wood for optimal burning. It didn't work. So I even tried, like, in between the layers, adding highly flammable leaves, and they fucking burn up, and then the wood would barely scorch, and then it would go out, and then I was like, okay, cool, lighter fluid. And then that would burn out and the woods would be almost completely intact. It was a struggle, for sure. It was definitely a struggle, but we made it. We had a great camping trip. We saw elk.
I feel like we
We saw zero bear.
We saw 0 bears. Actually, not true. I saw them in my dreams. I had a dream about them the second night. There were 12 baby bears. So
That
I
requires
count that.
like 4 mothers.
But it was a good trip. I feel like we were very, very prepared for this trip. Compared to some of the ones I've been on in the past. I once went to Red Top Mountain with no tent.
You just like tied your jacket up against a tree and slept under it.
Well, it was an accident. We meant to bring the tent.
You got marooned.
Yeah, we did. We exiled ourselves. But anyways, yeah, it was 35 degrees.
The last
First 2
trip or that
nights-
one?
The first 2 nights we were on, this weekend, or Thursday, Friday, and I was never cold. We were prepared.
Yeah. I got definitely bruised up though. So next time, I think because of my old age, I'm going to have an inflatable mattress underneath me. I was so used to in my youth just throwing the tent down anywhere. It could be on like a bed of pine cones, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I don't care, and I'd sleep comfortably and be fine. But
Soft.
I got soft in my old age,
You're
and
not old.
sleeping on my side, my hips were miserable the next morning. So sleeping on my back was the only option. And when I sleep on my back, I snore like crazy.
I didn't hear it.
You
was
just hear the
out.
people partying in the background off in the
Oh,
distance.
that last night, yeah. I was like, man.
All right, so I figured since the last beer we had was a wine beer,
We need more wine.
yes, go back into a wine beer. This is Albright Grove Brewing Company. This is called Ridgeline, and you probably can't see it.
Ridgeline. Like the Blue Ridge Mountains.
You probably can't see. Well, you definitely can't because it's all fucking green. Well, shit. But yeah, it's got like this topography.
That's freaking cool. That's really cool.
Dartmouth English pub ale, and it's got all the stuff in here that the font's so small I can't see it. But it's a Maibach lagered in Chardonnay barrels. Ridgeline, named for the ambiguous ridgelines that adorn our skylines in East Tennessee. This German-style Maibach is malt forward with a touch of caramelized malts and to add a touch of rose color and a rich mouthfeel, but finishes crisp and refreshing. This batch was lagered in Chardonnay barrels over 2 months to round out the character of the beer and provide a unique overtone with oak and a kiss of wine. 6.2%, and it is from... Oh, we know Albright Brewing Company, but where are you from? Knoxville, Tennessee. So I don't think we've ever had this beer on there. I'm going to make sure I save these, because if you guys didn't know...
Fancy.
No, I'm not fancy, but I do save some like unique, not stickers. These are all my vintage beers. You can't see this,
Oh.
but
Are those the ones in the
these are
little cellar?
These are all the beer in my cellar. These are all the vintage beer. This is stuff we're saving for people who we think that might actually like it. I think the oldest beer we have, let's see, some of these aren't that old.
oldest wine I have so far is only from 2013.
We did have a 1995 port though, or 94.
We did.
So most of these are 2022, 21,
2008.
2015, 14. Where do you see 2008? 2008, yeah, that's 3 summers. It's Yazoo. No, actually, it's the McKellar. So 2015, 2013, 14, 15. We have some vintage beer. Some of these that you see that are like 2022 or 2021, these are ones that we're actually going to let age a little longer. There's an older Rasputin from 2022, and that's going to be a boozy boy.
how does aging work with beer versus wine? Because I'm not as familiar with. I didn't know that you did that with beer.
So the beer, it varies, you know, and it's a very fickle process. So you could have 2 beer, right? Exact same styles of beer. Let's say we did a double, like an imperial stout, right? If you guys didn't know, imperial stouts are called imperial stouts because
We did an episode on that.
Yeah,
I was on that episode.
the English were making these beers for the Soviet soldiers, the Russian soldiers. I can't say Soviet because it's like pre-Soviet. Yes, for the Russian soldiers because they wanted a stronger beer, and it was called like Russian stouts, and then it became like imperial stouts because it's mostly imperial soldiers from Russia. We're not going to try that yet, but you can have 2 beers, same style, same age, and cellar them under the same conditions, and they can taste completely different.
Is that the point though, or is it supposed to improve the quality like wine, or is it just to see how different it is?
It depends. Some beers, like I've had some IPAs that after you cellar them and they've been cellared for 5-6 years, they're not super hoppy. They're not super like bitter, and you're getting more of the flavor instead of that overwhelming bitter that some people find abrasive with IPAs. Usually fruit. Sometimes sweetness kind of dwindles. I've had some IPAs like the 90 minute. No, it was 120 minute maybe. It was one of those Dogfish Heads that were kind of higher up, 120 minute maybe. I don't know. But either way, it was like 3 or 4 or 5 years old. I don't know. And it became kind of sweet over time. So it's kind of like if you've had the beer in its original form and you have another one, it doesn't hurt to like just throw it off and see how it tastes in a couple years. I mean, I got it in a book, but some of these I have saved labels for.
Oh yeah.
The previous episodes, they can't really hear me, but previous episodes I've kind of saved.
Yeah, those are cool.
Some of these are really green, as you can see.
Like the bear.
Yeah, he's just a floating bear because the image is actually green. So yeah, some really cool labels I've kind of saved. Sometimes I'll even have some info on them. So I've got one a couple back.
That Black Abbey, that was good. I
Oh,
remember
the
that.
Krampus, the Bach beer.
That was
So this one I found back when Jake had longer hair. I found this random sticker, and it, okay, a sticker I found stuck to the side of Cookout. Thought it looked like Jake. Death is inevitable, which is a regular occurrence. I wrote Ekin was our guest. Talks of dolphin sex and genome altering. Yeah, so I've had lots of cool labels throughout time, like this cat in the business suit. Actually, it probably would have made more sense for me just to kind of do this and then do that maybe. But you guys kind of get the idea, you know. I've saved some cool labels, and we've got some cool ones this week. that I will at some point get a knife and attach to the book. It gets a little tricky when there's like, so like this one, for example. This is Honey Tree Meadery, which is a great place. But this is, you can't peel this off. This is not a sticker. And this, for example, this is not a sticker. This is a seal. So they shrink wrap this to the can. So there's no adhesive. If I pull this off, it will snap and there's no way for me to attach it. It's already like sealed with a concave kind of fit to it. So this will never fit in one of these books. These, on the other hand, these are stickers. And might as well. Every beer gives you a free sticker. But have you tried this beer yet?
I did.
You did? Did you taste the wine in it?
I did.
These little glasses, man. I'm just spilling shit everywhere. Oh, yeah. Definitely the wine. This is a German-style Maibach, right? Cheers. It's a little late on that, but...
It's good.
That is Ridgebach, or Albright Groove Brewing Company, Ridgeline, Maibach. Yeah, no, it's a very unique beer. I'm glad that they stepped outside of the box. A lot of breweries just want to make like hype beer they know that's going to sell. That's like, we're going to put Rice Krispie treats and lactose in a beer and make Rice Krispie treats beer. Like, it sounds nice, but most people only want to have one can of it. Something like this is something nice to actually drink. This is not a hype beer. This is something you probably get one can of it, like I did, and you
Sip on it.
yeah, or
Little while, yeah.
you buy a 4-pack and over the next week you work on it, or you know, it's a tall can, it's a tall boy, so you share it with somebody else.
It's good. Unique. Not what I was expecting.
Definitely is unique. I'm getting that bready, that maltiness to it, but then that first sip, which it's kind of dwindled since. But the Chardonnay barrels, I got it right off the rip. But the more I sip on it, the less I get of it. All right, the next person, Marooned. This is on June. Well, it just says in June 1722. This is Philip Ashton, Massachusetts-based fisherman. Philip Ashton was trawling the seas near Nova Scotia, which I want to go there, New Scotland, when his schooner was set upon by a band of pirates led by notorious Edward Lowe. When Ashton refused to join the Buccaneers' ranks, that's awesome, they just said, "Hey you be a pirate, aren't you?" And they're like, "No, I'm good." I think it's just awesome that these guys just showed up. It was like, you're going to be a pirate.
That's what they did in Savannah. They literally high nooned them guys from the bars.
We do like high nooning.
And we're like, you're going through this tunnel and waking up on a pirate ship.
Oh, yeah.
for
The
rest of
birthday
your life.
bash. He had all these guys invited for free drinks for his birthday bash, and he had all these people that he high nooned and was sending off to China. Anyways, when Ashton refused to join the Buccaneers' ranks, he was kept as a slave for 9 months while the rogues plundered their way across the Atlantic and back again along the coast of Brazil and Central America. The beleaguered fisherman finally made an escape in March 1723 when he sprinted into the jungle after the pirates stopped for fresh water and off a small island off the coast of Honduras. Another guy that they made a stop, and this man said, "Fuck you guys," and ran into the woods. Though stranded with no food or tools, Ashton managed to construct a crude shelter and ate fruit and raw turtle eggs to ward off starvation. He wasted away on his island alone until 1723 November, so he was there some months when he encountered a British man who had escaped the Spanish. The fellow castaway disappeared after only a few days, but left behind a knife and other supplies that Ashton used to continue surviving. He would eventually spend another 7 months enduring extreme heat insects, snakes, hunger, and near-death fever, and even an attack from a Spanish before he was rescued by a British ship in 1724. So he's there for about a year. Ashton later wrote a popular book detailing his terrifying days in the company of Lowe's pirate in his 16-month stint as a castaway. These castaways.
Roger from Outlander tried to maroon himself, and then Bonnet was like, "You gonna stay on the ship?"
Did that happen?
I did.
We got to start watching that again.
I've already watched it.
What?
What do you mean what?
I have to get caught up with you so we can watch it together.
Right. Well, that's on you.
You've already watched it? You've already...
I've been watching it. What are you talking about? I've been watching it since before I even knew you.
No, I mean we were watching it together so we can both get caught up and watch the new season together.
I am caught up.
You've watched the new season. The newest season.
No. I just watch it. I haven't seen the new season.
Betrayal.
You gotta pay for that.
Betrayal.
I'm not paying for that until we're both ready to start watching.
I'm ready. Ooh, I got some Chardonnay on that one.
It's good.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna get rid of that wallet. I don't really know. So we struggled. We were camping. We did well in our most recent trip. We brought you were prepared. You were definitely prepared, more so than me. You did a lot of preparations beforehand. So
I've been doing this
Well,
shit
not
since
always.
I was 3 years old.
not always. And as a
Even
Boy
though
Scout, I'm supposed to always be prepared.
weren't,
You know.
though. And I was. And I am always prepared. Even when I left my tent that one time, that was on purpose. I just didn't tell my friend at the time. I wanted to force her to sleep under the stars.
Yeah.
So,
So we had tea, we had coffee. I guess we had two various forms. We had chicory and regular coffee. There was all kinds of snackies.
there was not all kinds of snackies.
We had pretzels at some point. I had my little protein bars. We ate packet tuna.
That's not a
We had
snack.
canned
That's
food.
surviving. That's not a snack.
That's not surviving. Those guys would have loved to have canned beans.
Well, it was,
we ate
it was
cowboy
good.
style.
We did. We made potatoes like every day.
Yeah, no, the potatoes were good. Chop them
Those-
up, olive oil,
I've
salt,
never
pepper.
had better mashed potatoes in my life. Maybe we were just really hungry. No, we weren't, because I just had a trout at the restaurant. I was not super hungry.
Where do we have trout at?
The brewery. I had trout.
Which brewery?
The one we went to.
Oh, this?
So
Yeah.
I wasn't hungry. I think those were just really good potatoes.
Hmm.
I'm afraid I'll never know how to make them again. I'll forget it.
No, it's literally just what? It was olive oil.
It was roasted garlic first, chopped up.
It was garlic, like raw garlic,
Oil.
olive oil.
Then you just throw the whole potatoes in.
We threw the thyme in there.
Thyme, onion powder, salt, pepper, and what is the seasoning you have? It's like peppers, or is it just salt, pepper?
I think it's salt, pepper, garlic.
Oh, well, that. And then you just let them sizzle, and then you smash up the potatoes. I don't know.
You
It
got
was
some
great.
mashed taters.
It was great. Yeah, we were prepared.
You were prepared.
I had a podcast downloaded for us to listen to by the fire. National Parks After Dark. If you've never heard of it, if you like
you want some more of this?
crime, no, crime investigation, parks, cryptids.
Yeah.
That's your podcast. It's my
Yeah.
favorite.
So one of the things that I find very interesting about that show, or about podcasts in general. So with this show, like obviously I'm talking to a camera, but I also have my microphone, which is capturing audio, which could be used for podcasts. But most podcasts don't have that. So are they sitting there with their paperwork? Because these guys do episodes. Some of them do like.
Yes, there's
Some people do like bi-weekly episodes. Some
They
people
do weekly, and they do extensive research. There's 2 hosts, and they flip who's responsible for like the story that week. They also do trail tales, which is cool, where writers or listeners write in. They send emails about their personal story, so it could be anything from an alien followed me home to
Oh yeah, that one did happen.
I had a run-in with somebody that I had a bad gut feeling about, and then later it came out on the news that they were
This fucking
a
serial
serial
killer.
killer. It could be a run-in with a bear, grizzly bears, or cougars.
The Cougars, yeah.
And people just write these like stories, and they read them off, and they probably do 6 or 7 trail tales in an episode, but I mean, they never run out. Everybody's always writing in. So they switch it up. They just recently started having guests on, specialists in. Recently, it was like a specialist in like ghosts, I guess, in national parks, national monuments. So that was cool. But yeah.
I wanted to do something. I was kind of inspired by them, and I was wanting to do something like that. But we actually don't have enough of a following to do something like that. But I wanted to have like trade terrors, like people in the craft, whatever craft they're in. Like, hey, I'm an accomplished potter, and I was making some experimental pot with some experimental materials, and I caught the whole place on fire, and maybe not to that, maybe a little more well written than that, or detailed, but something to that extent. That there's always going to be some crazy situation that happens, whether because this show is not just about like your basic tradesmen. Like we're not talking about like plumbers and electricians and welders and woodworkers. Well, it's everybody, anybody who's passionate about something. So it could be an artist, a musician, falconeers. It could be a glass blower. It could be a drag queen. It could be there's a lot of talent and a lot of skills that go into these.
What about being cute?
Yeah, that's a good one.
She's like, I'm a pro.
I'm gonna try to find her real quick.
She wants to hide.
Well, she can't.
Look here.
Tell us about your story, Bonnie.
Oh, you don't want to hear her story.
She's loving that. But I wanted to have like trade terrors and people within a craft telling me their like terror stories.
Mm-hmm. You want to hear my terror story?
Okay. The Tarot?
Not terror. Terror card. Terror.
Okay.
It's called Archaeology, and it started in when I was 19 years old. No, it's great, but that's sort of what me and somebody are. I'm not gonna put any more ideas out there for people to snatch up, so I'm gonna keep that one for myself. But yes, I think it's a great idea when you're in a field to be able to make light of and
Catastrophic event.
and be honest about that as well.
Yeah.
Because some people are so like, I've never been through anything. I just walked in and had my PhD or was a master potter and it's just like, no,
I want to hear your stories. I want to hear about you doing some crazy excavation on the last day of your.
I did that.
The last day, and you find something great, and it.
That's exactly what happened.
The next day it starts pouring and flooding, so you have to go out there to like.
Bucket out a 13-foot tube.
Yeah, I want to hear these stories. I want to hear this side of the terrors of your trade, the
It's
things that
definitely not
nobody.
a terror, though. That's honestly at the end of the day what you live for. Like in my field, anyway.
Right. I want to hear these stories that nobody outside of that path would know or would have any access to.
Yeah.
That's a very heady boy.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening here, but you know.
Just keep it going.
But yeah, that's great. I think that's.
That was just continuously like.
Don't. She's getting it.
He's just continuously. If you see the stuff in the background, that's Jake's woodworking. This is just a heady boy, and he's just continuously flowing out this.
Yeah, it's a little much.
It's the terrors of beer reviewing.
Apparently.
When you have something that's so carbonated, and I'm guessing somebody probably this is either the process of how this was made that did this, or this was dropped somewhere along the way. And it's still just going. This is how each of us are getting our beer tonight. We're just slowly letting this thing fill a glass.
All right, there you go.
Hey, thanks. It's a beer completely comprised of head.
Nothing I can do about it.
This is Vitamin C Brewing, which we've never had them on the show before. Not off to a great start, to be honest. Not off to a great start. But it like I said, there are variables that could cause something like this. It could be that the 6-pack or a pallet had dropped or something like that, or maybe it's overcarbonated. I don't know.
You think?
Ooh, that's the end, baby. Nope. You thought that was the end.
I don't get my hopes up anymore. Look at there. It's just saying. Here we go. All right, I've had enough of you. Wow, that was not eventful.
All right, I'm gonna try this. Actually, let me get some of this now that it's been
Get the
opened
good
up.
stuff.
Yeah, I want to try it now that it's not just a beer comprised completely of head.
I like. Does this have hops in it?
Smells like it.
Appreciate it.
So this is Rumble and Rome. This is easy drinking beer, and it is from Vitamin C Brewing in Weymouth, Massachusetts. It's 4.2%,
Pretty good.
and they didn't really give anything else, but I would say this is on the spectrum of an IPA. It's definitely on a hoppy scale. Probably,
I don't like IPAs, but that one's.
maybe you've acquired a palate for it.
I do not think I did.
They didn't list the IBUs, but I'm guessing.
It doesn't smell like cat pee, so that's important.
IBUs are pretty low. Yeah, very low. She's pushing. She's like, no, man. She already doesn't like IPAs.
It's not as offensive as most.
Yeah, I
one's
zoomed
got a
in.
good flavor.
I zoomed in with the camera, and you didn't make a face, which is a great sign. I actually put the camera on you to see how you would respond to this IPA.
Yeah, it wasn't offensive.
But you did smell it, so you're getting there with your beer knowledge. You smelled it and was like, it smells like an IPA.
I've known about beer.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, you're getting there, like you're getting more exposure to.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for exposing me.
It's not me. You were drinking beer before me. I'm just saying, like, you know what you don't like. So when it comes, when it rears its little head.
Look, it didn't take anything for me to know I didn't like IPAs.
I honestly, I'm kind of got burnt out on IPAs. So I initially didn't like IPAs. I was like you, and I've told this story a million times, and you guys can tell me to shut the fuck up
Shut the fuck up.
through the chat
Oh.
if you guys have heard it and you don't want to hear it anymore. But
Here, let me find my phone.
I'd been traveling around to, traveling, and I'd go into a brewery and I'd say, I didn't like IPAs. So I'd say, let me get a flight, and I'll have things that aren't IPAs. I would try to choose from this list of things, and IPAs were extremely popular. So sometimes I'd have to double up on things because they had so many IPAs. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm kind of cheating myself on an experience. Like if...
It's your story.
Yeah, it's my story. It's my journey. So I was like, you know what? I feel like if there's this many people who like them, maybe I should give it an honest chance. Initially, it was like, okay, this is grandma's perfume with flowers. And Cappy. And so I started trying them more. And then I started out with hazies, which hazies have a lot more, they're much more fruit forward. And they're usually like lower IBUs, so they don't have so much bitterness to them. And they're usually much more fruit forward. So it's like almost like a Hefeweizen, like a blue moon with a slight amount of hop to it. So I started out with that, and I enjoyed it. And then I eventually started moving towards more like traditional or like double IPAs, or even like, God forbid, a triple IPA. And I found enjoyment in some of them. But I got burnt out on them. They're just fucking everywhere. So if I go to a brewery and I see that there's like 3 IPAs, 1 red or 1 amber beer, a stout, I will probably 90% of the time, and even a Pilsner, I'll choose a stout, a porter, an amber, a brown, an Oktoberfest. I'll choose any of those or sour over an IPA most of the time, or like a Pilsner or a Kolsch.
Any of most them except an IPA.
Most of those are so bland. There's no point even.
My first run-in with IPAs was at Southern Brewing Company in Athens, and it was pretty much a bunch of college kids, my peers, and
they're infatuated with them, weren't they?
And I just was, you know how I am. I won't do it just because I won't, You tell me to watch a show that you enjoy, and I won't for years.
If there's too much hype on it, you don't want to be.
I don't know why.
You're an anti-bandwagoner. You're not wanting to join onto the bandwagon.
I mean, I eventually did with Outlander.
Yeah, but
I don't think to the same extent some people do.
Once, like, you were like 2 to 3 seasons behind. Plus, with you having your Scottish background, it incentivized it more for you to actually.
I wanted to go to Scotland before I.
Right, but I'm saying once you went there.
Then I was like, okay, now I'll allow myself to watch it to see how they're doing this, and they do it pretty well.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
I'm
a little behind, but
But I mean, IPA, same. I didn't want anything to do with them, and then I was like, okay, you know what? I'll get over it. All right, I'll give it a chance. It's just a beer. It didn't do anything to me, and then it did. And then it did something to me. It tastes like cat pee.
Jake and I have only had one actual beer on the show that actually tastes like cat pee. So I think I should read one more story of a
high nooner?
Somebody who was marooned, or even voluntarily marooned. And then I will we'll end it for the show. I can do Juana Maria. I can do the Rose Sea Party.
Let's do Maria. That's my sister's name. Also, Bonnie, I just want to put it out there.
Bonnie Lass.
She wasn't marooned, but she was definitely high nooned.
She was yanked up.
She was, I yanked her.
Okay, so it says Juana Maria was a name given to a famous lone woman of San Nicholas. a Native American who spent nearly 2 decades stranded on an island off the coast of California. Juana Maria had grown up on San Nicolas, but most of her tribe was slaughtered in the early 1800s by hostile hunters. Missionaries excavated a few remaining survivors, evacuated. Sorry, I've been hanging out with Babe too long. Missionaries evacuated, huh?
Too long.
Not too long in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, obviously your terminology is rubbing off on me. Missionaries evacuated a few remaining survivors in 1835, but Juana Maria was left behind when she ran back to the island to locate her missing infant.
Once again, did it to herself.
She never found the child, but when attempts to rescue her stalled, she was forgotten and left to survive on San Nicolas in complete isolation. Juana Maria spent the next 18 years taking shelter in a cave and fishing with hooks made from seashells. She captured seabirds, seals, and fashioned their feathers and skins into dresses, and passed the time weaving baskets and bowls from grasses. Her solitude finally came to an end in 1853 when Captain George Nedever discovered her on San Nicolas. Nedever took Juana Maria to Santa Barbara a few weeks later, and though no one could speak her language, she used hand gestures to relate the astonishing story of her survival. Sadly, she was unable to adjust to the diet of the mainland and died of dysentery 2 months after leaving her island. Her story was later fictionalized in the popular children's novel Island of the Blue Dolphins.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Adios mío.
Second grade, I loved that book.
Did you? And it was about that girl, basically. But either way, Vitamin C Brewing, thank you for doing what you doing. You're from Weymouth, Massachusetts. We've never had your beer on the show, but I'm glad you're here. And thank you guys for all tuning in. Thank you for tuning in on the International Marooned Without a Compass Day. Thank you, Alicia, for coming in and hanging out with me, drinking beer. Thank you, Bonnie, for being a sweet pea. I want to tell you guys to have a great night. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully. If not, check out the Instagram, Trade Skills, and I'll keep you updated. I don't know how to do it through Twitch, but I'll see you guys next week, hopefully. Y'all have a great night, and ciao.